Imagine sitting on the grid at the Australian Grand Prix, heart racing, lights flickering. But instead of a roar, you hear the sound of 20 engines coughing and stalling in a cloud of digital confusion. This isn't a bad dream, it's the terrifying reality that just emerged from the final day of pre-season testing in Bahrain. As of today, February 21, 2026, the Formula One paddock is in a state of absolute panic. The nimble car revolution was supposed to save the sport, but after 2 weeks of testing, the truth has finally been exposed: these cars are failing. From the engine loophole that has Mercedes rivals calling for a mid-season ban, to the recipe for disaster, race starts that have drivers fearing for their lives, the 2026 season is standing on the edge of a cliff. Today, we are breaking down the exclusive data from the final hours in Bahrain, the secret FIA vote that could change everything, and the real reason why legends like Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri are sounding the alarm. If you want to know if F1 just made a multi-billion-dollar mistake, you need to watch every second of this. We have to start with the biggest scandal in the sport right now: the Mercedes ATTC1 engine loophole. For months, we've heard whispers that Toto Wolff's team found something the others missed. Today, we finally have the proof. The 2026 regulations strictly mandate a compression ratio of 16:1, a significant drop from the 81 of the previous era. This was designed to make the engines simpler for newcomers like Audi and Red Bull Ford. But Mercedes played a different game. They designed an engine that passes the FIA's static test at 16:1 while it's sitting in a cold garage at ambient temperature. However, the secret telemetry leaked from Bahrain shows that once those cylinders hit 130 degrees Celsius at full throttle, the internal thermal expansion shifts the geometry back to 18:1. This thermal cheat gives Mercedes an estimated 40 horsepower advantage over anyone else. As we speak, the FIA has launched an emergency electronic vote among the engine manufacturers to change the rules by August 1st. But here is the kicker: that vote won't affect the first 13 races. Mercedes could walk away with the championship before the loophole is even closed. But the engine isn't the only disaster. Let's talk about the recipe for disaster. Race starts that Oscar Piastri and George Russell just warned us about. Because the 2026 cars have removed the MGU-H, they suffer from massive turbo lag. To get these cars off the line, drivers are now having to rev their engines at 12,000 RPM for up to 15 seconds while stationary just to spool up the turbo. In the final practice starts in Bahrain, we saw multiple cars fall into anti-stall, leaving them sitting ducks on the grid. Piastri was blunt: a pack of 22 cars with hundreds of points less downforce and unpredictable power delivery is a safety nightmare. If a car at the front stalls and a car at the back is already doing 200 km/h in straight mode, we are looking at a catastrophe. The drivers are demanding an urgent change to the start procedures before Melbourne, but with only 2 weeks to go, time is running out. Then there is the failure of the active aero. F1 2026 was built around two new terms: straight mode and corner mode, formerly known as X mode and Z mode. The idea was simple: flatten the wings on the straights to save fuel, and pop them up in the corners for grip. But in reality, it's a mess. Testing data shows that the transition between these modes is causing violent aero balances shifts. Drivers are reporting snaps in high-speed corners where the car suddenly loses rear downforce because the front wing reacted a millisecond faster than the rear. It's making the cars feel artificial and disconnected. Instead of the nimble car we were promised, we have a machine that requires a supercomputer just to stay on the black stuff. And what about the teams? The final lap counts from Bahrain tell a story of two halves. Mercedes and Ferrari look strong, but look at Aston Martin. They finished testing with the lowest lap count of any team. Their Honda power unit is suffering from repeated battery failures, leaving Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll stranded in the pits. Meanwhile, the newcomers at Cadillac are actually looking more reliable than the established giants. Ferrari, however, seems to have played the most honest game by avoiding the compression loophole and focusing on a radical flip wing design. Charles Leclerc just set the fastest lap of the entire fortnight, but even Ferrari's pace can't hide the fact that these cars are clipping at the end of every straight. Because the power split is now 50-50 between fuel and battery, the cars are literally running out of energy at 300 kilometers per hour. We are seeing drivers having to lift and coast on the straights just to have enough battery for the next corner. Is this the pinnacle of racing, or have we turned F1 into an energy management sim? The FIA is in a corner. They wanted to attract manufacturers like Audi and Ford, and they succeeded. But in doing so, they might have broken the DNA of the sport. We are looking at a season where the winner might be decided by who has the best thermal expansion alloy rather than who is the best driver. Max Verstappen has already hinted that he is taking his concerns directly to Stefano Domenicali. When the three-time world champion is this worried, the fans should be too. We are at a turning point. The 2026 regulations were meant to be the future, but right now, they look like a disaster waiting to happen. Will the FIA push through the August 1st engine change? Will they fix the dangerous start procedures? Or are we about to witness the most chaotic and controversial season in the history of the sport? One thing is for certain: the data doesn't lie, and the data from Bahrain says we are in trouble. Before we go, I have a massive goal. We are currently sitting at 700 watch hours, and we are just a few hundred subscribers away from hitting that 1,000 sub milestone to unlock monetization. If you value this kind of deep dive technical analysis and want to stay updated on the 2026 engine scandal, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We are on a mission to reach 1,000 before the lights go out in Australia, and every single one of you makes a difference. So, let's settle it in the comments. Should the FIA ban the Mercedes loophole immediately, or is it just clever engineering? And are you excited for Active Aero? Or does it sound like a disaster to you? I'll be responding to your theories down below. This is World Formula Apex, and we'll see you at the next update.